Hello, it's Willie from the Ozarks and ready for our January the 6th lesson in A Course in Miracles workbook for students. Lesson 6, I am upset because I see something that is not there. I am upset because I see something that is not there. The exercises for today, or the exercises with this idea, are very similar to the preceding ones. Again, it is necessary to name both the form of upset, such as anger, fear, worry, depression, and so on, and the perceived source very specifically for any application of the idea. For example, I am angry at blank because I see something that is not there. So you could say I'm angry with a certain person because I see something that is not there. Or I'm worried about blank, maybe a situation or a certain that's getting ready to happen or happening. I am worried about blank because I see something that is not there. Today's idea is useful for application to anything that seems to upset you and can profitably be used throughout the day for that purpose. However, the 3 or 4 practice periods which are required should be preceded by a minute or so of mind searching as before, and the application of the idea to each upsetting thought uncovered in the search. So we're supposed to do it at least 3 to 4 times today, but he says you can also use this to calm yourself or to bring peace to disturbing situations throughout the day. So we want to use these things throughout the day, and this is where your second year students will probably be able to do this a lot better, because we've had a lot of practice at trying to remember our lesson throughout the day on the hour. So you students that are going through this the second time and trying to really get it right, he's given you a freedom to do this. He says, use this lesson throughout the day for anything that's disturbing you. And you new students, do it at least 3 or 4 times today. And if you want to do it more, that's fine. If something's bothering you, well then pause for a moment and say to yourself, I am blank, whatever the emotion is, at blank, whoever's causing it or appears to be causing it, because I see something that is not there. All right? So we'll use this to calm ourselves. We're also going to use it to explore our own personal repertoire of pains and of our own thoughts, okay? Again, if you resist applying the idea to some upsetting thoughts more than others, remind yourself of the 2 cautions stated in the previous lesson. There are no small upsets. They are all equally disturbing to my peace of mind. And I cannot keep this form of upset and let the others go. For the purpose of these exercises, then, I will regard them all as the same. Now, I wrote all that on my card today. I wrote the lesson, I'm upset because I see something that is not there. And then I wrote, I am blank, and I wrote down an emotion underneath that, at blank, and I put down a person or a situation underneath that blank, because I see something that is not there. So throughout the day, I'll just pull out my card and think about it. And then I also put down the 2 reminders where he said there are no small upsets. They are all equally disturbing to my peace of mind, and I cannot keep this form of upset and let the others go. For the purposes of the exercises, then, I will regard them all as the same. All right, so there's what we're going to be working on today. I am never upset I am upset because I see something that is not there. All right, and I'm probably not read as much out of the text. I think I just bit off way more. The lesson yesterday was longer than I ever intended it to be. I try to keep these down to about 20 minutes. Yesterday was I think 28 minutes or maybe even more than that, but it was quite long, and I'll try to keep these down closer to 20 best I can. All right. let's take a look then at our text reading. And while you're turning there, we're going to look at the last section of chapter 1, and then tomorrow we'll do some highlights in chapter 2. A lot less than we did on chapter 1, but there was just so much in chapter 1 that I wanted to kind of bring our memory back to. I don't want to just be reading the whole time. I'd like to spend a little time just giving you some of my thoughts too. All right, collards. That's an old one that I've grown a lot is the Vates. I'm reading this out of the Seed Savers Exchange, also known as blue stem or Vates non-heading collard, developed by and named for the Virginia Truck Experiment Station. Dark green leaves on upright 24-inch plants, known for lack of purpling in veins and leaves. Excellent variety for boiling, bolt and frost resistant. There's several others here. A new one that they had in the Seed Savers Exchange was the Miss Annie Pearl Councilman collard. This storied collard checks all the boxes. Its uniform green leaves boast a sweet flavor without a sharp brassica taste. Its leaves grow upright to moderately spreading, reaching up to 2 foot long and 1 foot wide. Plants average 2 foot tall and, well, they say 2.5 foot diameter. Oh, the leaves are 2 foot long and 1 foot wide, but the plant is up to 3 foot wide. Longtime steward Miss Annie Pearl Councilman, which it's named after, received this variety in the early 1950s. In 2012, at age 94, she shared it with Tom Lambard, who donated the variety to Seed Savers Exchange in 2015. So that's a couple that I plan on growing. There's some other collards there, but Old Time Blue and the Georgia Southern and the Ellen Felton Dark. I may try to grow the Old Time Blue, but we're not going to read about it now. Let's get back to our lesson. Okay, distortion of miracle impulses. And remember yesterday, keep in mind that the miracle proceeds along the lines that in sorting out the false from the true, the miracle proceeds along the following lines. If perfect love casts out fear, and if fear exists, then there is not perfect love. But only perfect love really exists. If there is fear, it creates a state which does not exist. Believe this and you will be free. Only God can establish this solution, and this faith is His gift. So we're learning to see what's true based on if it's loving or not. If it's fearful, we know it must be a distortion. It's a make-believe. It's a nightmare that we're going to wake up from. Okay, distortions of miracle impulses. You are involved in unconscious distortions which are producing a dense cover over miracle impulses and which make it hard for them to reach consciousness. So I look at it as like our higher self, the Christ self, is wanting to direct us, and it's giving us information, it's giving us guidance. But by the time it filters down into our consciousness, where we've got so many beliefs and fears and prejudices and judgments, that it gets distorted and grotesque looking, and it changes a great deal from its initial inspiration. So that's why we're wanting to align ourselves with the truth, so that the consciousness of the Christ can flow into us without distortion. A rigid orientation can be extremely reliable, even if it is upside down. In fact, the more consistently upside down it is, the more reliable it is. Oh my, reliable untruth. However, validity is still the ultimate goal, which reliability can only serve. Hostility, triumph, vengeance, self-debasement, and all kinds of expressions of lack of love are often very clearly seen in the fantasies which accompany them. But it is a profound error to imagine that because these fantasies are so frequent or occur so reliably, that this implies validity. Remember that while validity implies reliability, the relationship is not reversible. This course then will concentrate on validity and let reliability fall naturally into place. All real pleasures come from doing God's will. This is because not doing it is a denial of self. Child of God, you who were created to create the good, the beautiful, and the holy, do not lose sight of this. The love of God for a little while must still be expressed through one body to another, because the real vision is so dim. The ultimate purpose of the body is to render itself unnecessary. Learning to do this is the only real reason for its creation. As long as a single slave remains to walk the earth, your release is not complete. Complete restoration of the sonship is the only true goal of the miracle-minded. Fantasies become totally unnecessary as the wholly satisfying nature of reality becomes apparent. Anyway, those are just a few ideas that I wanted to mention. That should finish. Hopefully you've already read chapter 1 and you've maybe even read chapter 2 now. If not, go ahead and read chapter 2. And we're going to talk a little bit about it over the next couple days. All right, so now let's go back and look at our manual for teachers. And I just love this. What are the characteristics of God's teachers? The surface traits of God's teachers are not all alike. They do not look alike to the body's eyes. They come from vastly different backgrounds. Their experiences of the world vary greatly, and their superficial personalities are quite distinct. Nor at the beginning stages of their functioning as teachers of God have they as yet acquired the deeper characteristics that will establish them as what they are. God gives special gifts to His teachers because they have a special role in His plan for atonement. Their specialness is, of course, only temporary, set in time as a means of leading out of time. These special gifts, born in the holy relationship toward which the teaching-learning situation is geared, become characteristic of all teachers of God who have advanced in their own learning. In this respect, they are all alike. All differences among the sons of God are temporary. Nevertheless, in time it can be said that the advanced teachers of God have the following characteristics. Now he's going to list us several, and he's going to start off with the foundational one, which is trust. That's where we all begin, is on trust. And we're going to read about it today. This is the foundation on which their ability to fulfill their function rests. Perception is the result of learning. In fact, perception is learning, because cause and effect are never separated. The teachers of God have trust in the world because they have learned it is not governed by the laws the world made up. Keep that in mind. The teachers of God have trust in the world. Why? Because they have learned it is governed by the laws the world made up. The teachers of God have trust in the world because they have learned it is not governed by the laws the world made up. It's governed by God at the ultimate. That's what we want to see. That principle that inspires everything. The first cause, the source. It is governed by a power which, and capitalized power and capitalized which, it is governed by a power which is in them but not of them. It is this power that keeps all things safe. It is this power that the teachers of God look on a forgiven world. It is through this power that the teachers of God look on a forgiven world. Wow, we can know that In my defenselessness, my safety lies, which is one of our lessons that we'll have. We can do that because we know that regardless of appearances, God is sure and protective and caring and guiding and the ultimate source of everything we see. Paragraph 4. When this power has once been experienced, it is impossible to trust one's own petty strength again. Who would attempt to fly with the tiny wings of a sparrow when the mighty power of an eagle has been given him? And who would place his faith in the shabby offerings of the ego when the gifts of God are laid before him? What is it that induces them to make the shift? First, they must go through what might be called a period of undoing. This need not be painful, but it usually is so experienced. It seems as if things are being taken away, and it is rarely understood initially that their lack of value is merely being recognized. How can lack of value be perceived unless the perceiver is in a position where he must see things in a different light? He is not yet at a point at which he can make the shift entirely internally. And so the plan will sometimes call for changes in what seems to be external circumstances. These changes are always helpful. When the teacher of God has learned that much, he goes on to the second stage. Okay, so the first stage is what? We call it they must go through what might be called a period of undoing. Okay, now the next stage, second stage of learning, of development of trust. The teacher of God must go through a period of sorting out. This is always somewhat difficult because having learned that the changes in his life are always helpful, he must now decide all things on the basis of whether they increase the helpfulness or hamper it. He will find that many, if not most, of the things he valued before will merely hinder his ability to transfer what he has learned to new situations as they arise. Because he has valued what is really valueless, he will not generalize the lesson for fear of loss and sacrifice. It takes great learning, listen to this, it takes great learning to understand that all things, events, encounters, and circumstances are helpful. It is only to the extent to which they are helpful that any degree of reality should be accorded them in this world of illusions. The word value can apply to nothing else. Now, the third stage in paragraph 7. The third stage through which the teachers of God must go can be called a period of relinquishment. If this is interpreted as giving up the desirable, it will engender enormous conflict. Keep that one in mind. If this is interpreted as giving up the desirable, it will engender enormous conflict. That's where we want to just rest and know that whatever's happening is okay, that we're never going to have to give up what's desirable. Few teachers of God escape this distress entirely. There is, however, no point in sorting out the valuable from the valueless unless the next obvious step is taken. The third step is rarely, if ever, begun until the second is complete. Therefore, the period of overlap is apt to be one in which the teacher of God feels called upon to sacrifice his own best interests on behalf of truth. He has not realized as yet how wholly impossible such a demand would be. He can learn this only as he actually does give up the valueless. Through this, he learns that where he anticipated grief, he finds a happy lightheartedness instead. Where he thought something was asked of him, he finds a gift bestowed on him. Paragraph 8. Now comes a period of settling down. Okay, the next section for in the development of trust. The fourth is a period of settling down. This is a quiet time in which the teacher of God rests a while in reasonable peace. Now he consolidates his learning. Now he begins to see the transfer value of what he has learned. Its potential is literally staggering, and the teacher of God is now at the point in his progress at which he sees in it his whole way out. And what is that? Give up what he does not want and keep what you do. How simple is the obvious, and how easy to do. The teacher of God needs this period of respite. He has not yet come as far as he thinks, yet when he is ready to go on, he goes with mighty companions beside him. Now he rests a while and gathers them before going on. He will not go on from here alone. He'll realize that God's everywhere, in everyone he encounters. And he'll start seeing the unseen world too and realize that angels hover all around. Paragraph 9. The next stage is indeed a period of unsettling. This is the period of unsettling. Be the 6th and the 7th. This is the 6th. The next stage, the 6th stage, is indeed, I think I counted that right, 4th, 5th, 6th. The period of unsettling. Now must the teacher of God understand that he did not really know what was valuable and what was valueless. All that he really learned so far was that he did not want the valueless, and that he did want the valuable. Yet his own sorting out was meaningless in teaching him the difference. The idea of sacrifice, so central to his thought system, had made it impossible for him to judge. He thought he had learned willingness, but now he sees that he does not know what the willingness is for. And now he must attain a state that may remain impossible for a long, long time. And now he must attain a state that may remain impossible for a long, long time. And he must learn to lay all judgment aside and ask only what he really wants in every circumstance. Let's read that again. This state that's hard to reach, learn to lay all judgment aside. He must learn to lay all judgment aside and ask only what he really wants in every circumstance. Were not each step in this direction so heavily reinforced, it would be hard indeed. And the last paragraph, 10. And finally, there is a period of achievement. It is here that learning is consolidated. Now what was seen as merely shadows becomes, and now what was seen as merely shadows before becomes solid gains, to be counted on in all emergencies, as well as tranquil times. Indeed, the tranquility is their result, the outcome of honest learning, consistency of thought, and full transfer. This is the stage of real peace. For here is heaven's state fully reflected. From here, the way to heaven is open and easy. In fact, it is here. Who would go anywhere if peace of mind is already complete? And who would seek to change tranquility for something more desirable? What could be more desirable than this? All right, isn't that beautiful? Okay, tomorrow we'll pick up on honesty, the next quality that develops from trust. What are the characteristics of the teachers, of God's teachers? And back one last time to remind you, I am upset because I see something that is not there. So until tomorrow, keep that thought ever close to you, and be sure to go into the silence for a minute or two, at least 3 or 4 times, okay, today. Until tomorrow, I am upset because I see something that is not there.